as just to get the ball rolling, maybe just talk a little bit about, your journey, how your upbringing and family impacted it, how your background impacted and got you where you are today.
All right. Let's see. How do I do this in two? Start. Yeah. Born in Fairbanks, Alaska. So center of the state. I would tell everybody go to Fairbanks twice. Go once in the summer, enjoy it. Go once in the winter, realize you don't ever want to live there. Grew up an outdoor kid. Played sports throughout my whole young life. Lived up and down the West Coast. Took our family to California, and then eventually back up to Alaska for middle school and high school. Was a four-sport athlete. There was just, it was either that or kind of get in trouble. I came from the kind of town where, it's blue-collar town. You kind of do what your dad did, or you join the military. Those are kind of the only ways out of town, and not many kids were leaving with scholarships when I was playing there. And I got the opportunity to play college football. I actually didn't tell you this, JT, but I had a scholarship offer from Oregon. Actually wanted to go to Oregon and play at Oregon. Wanted to be a Duck because I really actually wanted to be. I wanted to play for Washington State because I'd spent time living there, and they were the teams I grew up watching. And when other coaches called me back, I said Oregon was the way I could go make it up to those teams. Oregon decided to pull my scholarship right after they offered it because they obviously didn't think I was very good. So you may have been sitting on the sideline there. I couldn't even get to the sideline there. Came to Boise State.
Well, clearly, just to clarify, clearly you were good enough. You were drafted in the NFL. It was Oregon's mistake. But
yep, absolutely. I tell them daily when they call me to ask me what I'm doing. I tell them daily that they made a huge mistake. Came to Boise State. Was fortunate to have a successful career here. Won a bunch of championships. Had a great opportunity to join to go to the NFL. Was drafted in the second round by the Green Bay Packers. Won a Super Bowl there. My fifth season. Became a free agent, got to experience a few more teams in the NFL, retired after 9 years, and had a great time. Left there, wanted to see what I wanted to do with my life. Was raised around military, have a ton of it in my family, wanted a chance to serve, had a chance to do a bunch of USO tours and Navy entertainment. Some of the best people I met. I was without a team at the time, and the Army said they were happy to sign me to a 6-year contract for very little money, and I wasn't a free agent for long. Joined the National Guard here in Idaho. Served in Afghanistan. I've done search and rescue here in the Valley. I fought fire in California. One of the best 6 years of my life. Enjoyed it. Just stepped away from active duty service last April when I took the job here at Boise State, and I'm serving my last 2 years of reserve status right now. So if something happens and I've got to go back to work, I can. But now I work for Boise State, and I work for my alumni association here for my varsity Leonard winners. My job is to find more and more assets for my athletes as they transition out. There's a lot of similarities between my athletes and military, and I've kind of taken some stuff I've learned from those guys and try to use that for my athletes to make sure that they've got a home, a place to always call home, and we're there to protect them. Like most people in the world, 90% of them will walk out of here no problem. They'll become successful members of society, and they'll be able to give back, but we're trying to make sure that those 10% always have a place to call home and a support system built up around them. When I'm not doing the serious stuff, I'm trying to throw their tailgates and make sure they got as much food and beer as I can put in them. And then we're here.
Love it. That's awesome. And there's, as you all can see, there's tons of questions I think you can all ask. Again, just reminder, you can drop them in the chat. I'll get to them. But yeah, Daryn, just want to echo what Lexi said. Thank you for your service. Of course, that's awesome. But maybe you can talk about, Daryn, what are some, the biggest moments during your athletic career? Biggest moments. What you learn from it that better prepped you for life and business and what you do today?
Man, the big moments came fast. I was a kid from North Pole, Alaska. Didn't expect to come down here and shake the world. I came down here looking for a chance to pay for my college education. I didn't come for money. I needed somebody to pay the bills, and my job was to really just go out and try to be the best version of me, not embarrass my family, not embarrass the state of Alaska, and hopefully make a small impact. And I was fortunate enough to be coached and surrounded by the right leaders on my team that turned me into the player I was. And I became a starter after my redshirt freshman year, won 4 straight championships, and that meant a ton. We won a conference title every year I played here, and it was awesome. And then to go from that transition to end up in the NFL at another place I didn't know if I really belonged or deserved, but knew I was just going to go out there and make sure I didn't embarrass my family again, didn't embarrass the state of Alaska, and now I had to make sure I didn't embarrass Boise State. I went out with the idea that I was just going to make an impact and play and not ask too many questions and just try hard. And I was fortunate enough to make playoffs early in my career and then won a Super Bowl after my 5th year. That's probably obviously the largest moment in my experience in the NFL, the chance to win that with your teammates. And then the one time that you get a check that takes care of, people. Like I had, like I said, I didn't come from money, but the NFL allowed me the opportunity to take care of a lot of my family members and my wife's family members, a lot of people that wouldn't be able to do the things they're doing right now. We were able to spread that love. So you really talk about those two moments in my NFL career being huge, huge impacts on me. And then after that, we could really dive into, some of the military experiences too.
For sure. Let me ask a question that I heard you say a phrase a couple times, which to me, it speaks to like what motivated you, what got you going, what you got to pursue excellence. Like, and you phrased it in a way that, hey, I didn't want to embarrass my family, or I didn't want to embarrass this way, which I'm confident you didn't. But why do you phrase it that way to yourself?
I guess I think we're all easy at tearing ourselves down and kind of pointing in at ourselves, and we all are kind of masochists at some kind of point to ourselves. But my family didn't come from money, but what my family did was they sacrificed everything. My parents both worked jobs, took jobs they didn't want. I've lived in basements underneath my mom's offices so she could scratch agency to get her first opportunity with State Farm Insurance. We did those kind of things, and I watched the sacrifices they made me, put me in a position to have any success whatsoever, to give me the first step that I could have. And it was my job to kind of make those same sacrifices, to remember what they had done and make sure that I was going to go out there and make those same sacrifices. I was never going to look back and be like, I didn't try hard enough. If I didn't succeed, I was never afraid to not succeed. I never thought that was going to be something that happened to me. I was more afraid that I wasn't going to show up to even try and have that opportunity. And I knew if I gave it 100% and I stood there and I put it all on the line, I put my hand down in the dirt and I gave it every single thing, I could walk away with my head held high. And it's the same thing I tell my daughters now. I've got a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old who are just getting in their first sports and learning what it means to be an athlete. And, they're learning to compete. And so much of athletics is ingrained in who we are as a society in general, of how we interact with the people around us. And I tell my daughter, when she gets disappointed, I said, I don't care if you win a championship today or you guys are dead last. As long as you're out there giving it the effort and trying, that's all I can ask for you. And, just walk away with your head held high knowing, hey, I gave it everything I can today. And that was something that I've always kind of carried along with me. My mom set an early standard that the minute I signed up for something, I was going to finish it. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts. If I didn't want to do it the next year or the next week, that was fine. But if we showed up for work that day, we were going to finish the job that day. And it's just one of those things that I've carried on, and it carried me through a 9-year career. I only missed 2 games in my entire 9-year career. I was a starter the entire time. I never missed a game at Boise State. Those are some of the things that I've held on to really tight. I wasn't a quarterback. I wasn't a running back. I don't have some crazy cool stats. I don't have a bunch of Pro Bowls. I'm not going to the Hall of Fame, but I'll leave Boise State knowing that I played 53 straight games as an offensive lineman, and I played over 120 straight games in the NFL, and nobody can take that away from me. It's one of those things that, I wanted to come to work, and I kind of walked away and said, all right, everybody can be proud. And I kind of moved the ball a little farther.
That's awesome. I mean, it's really incredible. Lots of gold nuggets, really, of knowledge passed on there, even as I was listening to you, speak there, Daryn. And it sounds like your family just had a profound impact, on you as you were growing up. Can you remember anything specifically that really got you in that mindset, or was it a series of things that your mom was doing with the sacrifice as you were coming up? Like, how are you able to get in that mindset? And maybe to build on that, can you remember like an age or a time where you were just locked in that mindset?
No, for sure I can. Because when I was a young kid, especially in elementary school, middle school, we were making the transition. We'd gone down to California. My dad had came up to Alaska. To our family, all the men in my family have built fence. That's what my family does. They're fencers. We build fences around the pipeline and stuff. That's what brought my family to Fairbanks. When those jobs started to deteriorate, we moved down to California. My dad took a construction job down there. But for our family to take the next step to try to come out of this bottom of the blue collar world and try to, second and third kid on the way. My mom took a scratch agency in Kashmir, Washington, which most people don't even know where that is, but most people know where Leavenworth, Washington is because they've seen all the Bavarian pictures. And Kashmir is a pickers town that lives right next to a blue collar community. And my mom had a chance to start a scratch agency there. And if nobody knows what a scratch agency is, it means you have 0 book of business. State Farm says they want to set a shop up here and they think that there's enough people to do it. And they drop you off.
She was just like straight cold calling.
Yeah, it's exactly what she had to do. She had no book of business, and they gave her a sign, and they said, "You're a State Farm agent. You passed all your tests, but if you want you want to open your first agency, this is how you've got to do it. And there's nobody else to do it. And we literally lived in the basement underneath my mom's office. My room was a fruit closet. My brother and sister shared a bedroom next to the washer and dryer, and my parents had a private room that was around the corner, and that was it. And, you know, I walked to school, and my dad took a job with the city, and we took as much free fruit from our friends that owned orchards as we could, and we lived on little. And you watch your families do that, and where it goes and the sacrifices they make to do the things for you that you need. It becomes a simpler process, I think, for a lot of people to look at that and understand, like, that we were rich in so many other things than money at the time. And then my mom was able to catapult that into a successful business that she's held for the last 30 years. And you know, then she took over a bigger book of agency, and she stacked those successes. And I always looked at that and said, that's what it is. It's the grind. And if you just keep grinding, the rewards will come. But some days they're not. Like, there'd be days that my mom would grind and she'd do great, and the world would kick her back down 2 more stairs, but she would go back down and she would start walking up those stairs again. And, you know, you watch your parents go through that and you watch them do it. I think it always had a lasting impact on me from an early childhood. That was what I knew. My dad was going to always work. He was always going to provide. He was always going to do the job that was necessary, whether he loved it or not, to make sure that he could support the family in a way that my mom could then take another job and grow, and take another job and grow. And we would work on that together. And we've kind of taken that, the same philosophy. So it's probably the only reason that I have the only words I have, tattooed on my body is sacrifice. And it's just a reminder that every time I put my hand in the dirt, that a lot of people sacrificed to get me to this point. And I wasn't going to be the one that dropped the ball, to use a football reference.
Well, congrats. Congrats on your mom and your dad, really the example that's set for you. So it makes sense when I heard you saying, hey, I don't want to embarrass my family, because of the standard that they had set for you and the sacrifice. That's awesome part to your story. Cool, man.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward. Let's jump to, your time in the NFL. You're drafted. You're playing for the Packers. You're working hard because you don't want to embarrass your family. But maybe you could talk about your experience on, like, how you were, like, fighting for a position, how you wanted to make the team, because, like, the NFL, at least to me, from what I know, is like that is a year-to-year business, regardless of your contract. They're structured in certain ways. So, like, you could be gone maybe even week to week, but how did you use that same mentality to get you through that?
I got a real reality check early in my career. So I was drafted in the second round, and anybody that knows anything about football, you kind of, your first 2 rounds, like, you're coming into play. That's your job. You're being drafted to fill somebody's job. And a guy had moved on, had taken a contract somewhere else. I already knew the position I was playing. And I was starter from day one. The day I showed up at the Packers camp, had a good camp, and went to my very first preseason game and was playing against the San Diego Chargers, who had, I don't know, they had 80 guys on the team. At that time, it felt like they had 75 guys probably made the Pro Bowl. They had this really experienced defensive line, bunch of dudes you've heard of, that are going to be Hall of Famers. And I went out there, and I think in 30 plays, I fell down 28 times and blocked like 2 people, right? I was fired day after that game. Preseason, first year, just been drafted, been in the league for like a cup of coffee, and I was fired. I was benched immediately. And that was an immediate response of, you're not who you were when you left. Like, I left a big fish in a small pond and joined a place where everybody was the best at where they came from. Everybody had a chance. Dudes you never heard of were more talented than you. They just maybe didn't have the same experiences or the opportunities you had. And everybody was out there to prove it. And it was a business. There was no friends. There was just going to work every single day and trying to get better. And somebody was always going to be hunting you down for your job. They wanted your money. They wanted your opportunity. They wanted your experience. And I was able to buckle down and take that shot on the chin and learn and focus my game and calm down and redirect how I wanted to play my game. Like, became a better student in the game after that, and learned to slow myself down and learn to focus on details, and became an extremely detail-oriented player after that. In college, I was a smart player, but I was, able to get by on a lot of raw talent, ability, athleticism, and things like that, where I could outmaneuver and outdo my opponents. And in the NFL, the gap between you and the people you're competing against is so small. You have to find the details. You guys see that in your business every single day. The differential between you and the people that are operating the business next door to you, they're trying to take your clients and you're taking theirs. It's 1%. And it's the people that find those detail-oriented things. And that's how you survive in the NFL. And that's how I made it. some luck bounced my way. I didn't break a leg here. I didn't blow a knee there. I had hands hold together. Some luck comes along with it, but I found ways to every year, grow my game, get 1% better, have more knowledge than the guys across from me or the guys playing next to me, and use that to enhance my position as a player. And I got to play as long as I wanted to play and could have played longer. But the only reason of that is because I remained a student of the game for my entire career.
Nice. Love that answer. Again, everybody, lots of gold nuggets there. It really sounds like, Daryn was really had a setback. Literally, hey, it's literally just like a client going, hey, you know what? We're going to cancel your contract because you guys didn't get your deliverables if you're in breach, if you don't get your act together. Kind of woke him up, and he's like, hey, I'm going to get focused, really be a student of a game, really what we would be doing, going back, taking a look at our appraisals, trying to test out different channels, how we can get better performance for the client, as well. So that's just an incredible story there, Daryn. Appreciative. So, hey, so fast forward. Here you are. You're done with the NFL. Like, as you were exiting, like, did you know what you wanted to do? Like, what was the plan in your mind at that point in time?
The good thing is when you're a guy who's, like you kind of said, the NFL is a year-to-year job. And, I always never assumed I was ever going to make it longer than a year anyway. So I had always had projects in the background. I'd always kept certain interests of opportunities of things I would do. Like, I kind of figured, like, okay, if we can play long enough to get the mortgage paid on the house, we've got a head start of our friends. Or if we got enough to get the mortgage paid and get one of our cars paid off and make sure your mom and dad got, a place to live, we're doing good. And we just kind of tried to stack those successes, but I always made sure I was doing radio and TV work in the background all the time. I was a communications major when I graduated out of Boise State. I did public radio and TV work here and worked with our radio stations because I knew that I could talk about sports and I loved the game, and I knew that I could always fall back on that if I needed a job. No different than my dad, to make sure the bills got paid, while my wife, who's much smarter than me, went to law school or did whatever she was going to do to make sure that I could be a stay-at-home dad, because I thought I would make a great stay-at-home dad. So it's one of those things where, I was I had these plans, and then I got done with my career and I was in a place to do whatever I wanted, which, for some people is a blessing, and for some people is a curse. When you don't have to do anything, what do you do with your life? And one of the things that had deeply impacted me when I played was my time that I got to work with military, and I got to go overseas, and I got to go to places like Cuba, and I got to go to the Middle East, and I got to go to, Navy ships, and I got to work with these men and these women around the country that were making these sacrifices that were no different than me when I left high school, that were, a bunch of them were in a situation where this was their way out of the place they were at. And they chose to raise their hand, not only serve the people around them, but to take their own license in their own life and make a choice of a direction of growth. And they were some of the best people I ever met. And it was easy for me to leave that locker room and find a new locker room. And that's what I found in the National Guard. I was able to stay right in my own community. I wanted to stay in Boise. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to be here serving the community that paid my scholarship. And this was a way for me to, a little tip of the hat and come back and serve my community, to do search and rescue right here in the Valley, to fight fire here in the Valley, to help this community in the way it helped me get from where I was. And I also got to do a bunch of cool things and do some amazing things and some experiences. So for me, it was an easy transition. Once I saw that window, I took about 6 months off, enjoyed some time with my family. As my kid running between school, they were really low as we were moving back to Boise. We took about 6 months off and saw the world and did some of those fun things and spent a bunch of times being a family, getting away from football. And then I raised my right hand and I went to work in a different job and got a whole different uniform and got the longest contract I'd ever gotten in my entire professional career. The Army was really fast to sign an 8-year deal with 6 years of active. No NFL team was that fast to do that for me. So it was nice. It felt good. Felt good to be wanted.
Good stuff. Well, right off the bat, one thing I definitely heard you say, congrats on having a wife that's smarter than you. I'm in that club as well. So
yeah.
That's awesome. I'm a member there. But hey, maybe you could, hey, give us some examples of things that, again, similar to your previous experience. Here are you, you're in the National Guard. You run into a situation you haven't run in before. Like, if you can, like, what were kind of the details? What'd you do to push through it, to get past it, and what'd you learn from it?
Oh, the funny thing is, I went in the National Guard with a true thought of what I wanted to do with my career selfishly, because I'm a pilot in my own time. I fly small bush planes. I always wanted to fly. And We fly the UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters here. We use them for search and rescue. We use them for firefighting. We use them as assault platforms, medevac platforms, all kinds of things. And the fastest way to get in one is not a pilot. A pilot has to actually go to school for a year and a half, and then you get reissued back to a year. It's a big, long process. But if you're willing to go in as an enlisted person, what I did, you can be a crew chief, which means that you're pretty much a flying mechanic, and you assist, the pilots in their day-to-day operations. You're a mechanic on the airplane. You're a door gunner. You work with medics. You get to wear all these cool hats. And I came as an enlisted soldier because, for one, I didn't want to be Daryn Colledge, this B-level celebrity coming back to Boise, and try to be an officer. I thought that, for one, it would look weird. Like I had, I just didn't like really the optics of the situation for myself. I wanted to come at the very bottom. I wanted to be an enlisted guy who came up and worked with kids that were 18 to 20 years old, men and women, and maybe pass on some of the experience I had to help them kind of go on this journey. I kind of had this thought that I was going to, kind of help to mentor some of these people. And the fact of the matter is I learned more from them than they probably ever learned from me. I hope I passed on something, but to watch young kids, go through things and grind and grow and do things. And at first it's really easy. You learn in your job and you're a mechanic and it's all these weird things. And then one day they call up and they tell you you're leaving tomorrow and you're going to be standing in the LNU fire in California, and you're going to be working with hot shots, and you're going to be dropping buckets in smoke that you can't see 50 feet out of the aircraft. And you watch these kids and these people perform at their job, and you realize that everything you ever did before that, and I was a professional athlete, made a lot of money, and everybody can talk about the 1%, the best of the best. The stuff that these kids could overcome and the things that they could do and the ways they could work as a unit and as a team was overwhelming on every level, and humbled me and made me realize even more. I've never thought of myself as a hero or, doing the football thing. Everybody tries to put you on this pedestal. Never believed in that. I was always just a normal guy, got to do a great job. Getting to watch these guys really work was special, and really what pushed me to make sure that I wanted to go serve and go to Afghanistan and get to go be a medevac crew chief and go home and bring some of these kids home. I was realistic who I was. I was 35 years old when I headed over, and I wasn't a door kicker, and I wasn't this Rambo kind of guy, but I knew that if as a medevac crew chief that I'd have the chance to bring kids back to their family, and I got to be there for their worst day and hopefully bring a few back. And that was super special to be part of that mission and watch those guys go out there and put themselves on the line for a bunch of people that they'd never meet again. That was awesome. That was the stuff that's what I learned the most from. Those were the things that were the hardest to overcome.
Thank you for sharing that, Daryn. Geez, like every time you speak, you got like incredible examples for us to learn from. And one of the things I'm hearing as you're talking is teamwork. Early on being a part of a team, and how you were able to transition to a new team, new locker room. Mm-hmm. But like, what are some things you can share with the team? Because nowadays we're just we're just battling the economy, and I know like the whole company, everybody in the call is grinding. They're just working their butts off, but sometimes it could feel like, geez, I'm not doing enough, or I screwed something up and I'm to blame. But one of the things we always encourage is win as a team, lose as a team. But maybe you can share with some of your perspective, your thoughts on the value of teamwork, how it impacted you.
The great thing, actually, when you talk about my high school career, right? So I came from a town that's small, right? We always make the joke that I know all 15 people that live in my town and have known them for long. But I was actually a standout defensive lineman. All my accolades were in defense. I only played offense, and I actually punted because I went to such a small school. When you're an athlete, and you stand out at really small schools. So when I came to Boise State, I was this all-state defensive end. Thought I was going to come here, be about 250 pounds, find a good-looking girl. I was going to have abs. I had this whole life already planned out for myself, right? I'm coming to play college football. And, I got here, and the day I walked in, they said, we're going to make you an offensive lineman. I said, I'm going to be big and fat? Like,
wow, that is dramatic.
That's not fair. Like, wow. So there was really like a 2-month window. I'm not kidding you guys. I was good looking. I mean, there was a solid 2 months there over one summer that I was like, I was pretty good. But now, I was transitioning over to this offensive lineman. I wasn't sure. I was taking on this job that I knew very little about. Had only played a little bit in high school, and I had to learn one of the most complicated jobs in the world. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And because in the NFL and in football in general, the offensive line is such a special position because it takes 5 guys. It doesn't matter if I'm a Pro Bowler and the 4 guys around me don't know what they're doing. I will never play at a Pro Bowl level. And just like that, when I played on a young Green Bay offensive line where we started 3 rookies and had 2 solid guys around us, we could outplay who we were because we worked as a team well. We communicated as a group. And you learn these idiosyncratic things about each other as players where you start this line of nonverbal communication, where you're starting to trust the guy next to you to do his job. You're passing guys that you're not waiting for a switch to be called. And you're making moves, expecting the right hand to work with the left. And when you build up groups like that and you build up teams like that, there's a special cohesion with that. And that's why we ate dinners as groups. Our families hung out as groups. We made sure that we had one time a week that was just us guys to celebrate and talk about our lives and go out and have a beer and grow and have that connectivity. Because when it all came down to it, we really had to be family more than anything else. And the NFL's a unique example in that fact because, you'll talk to offensive linemen and they're the closest relationships on any team. But the teams that have true success out there, the ones that do well, are the ones that you can see have offensive linemen that start a lot of games together. Doesn't matter what happens over here. But if you look at a team, grab any random team from last year and look at anybody that's won more than 10 games last year and see how many offensive line starts they have as a group together. And you'll see this kind of trend. And when I went to the National Guard, I got to join another one of those. I fly with 2 pilots and 2 crew chiefs, and we're constantly trusting each other. One of us is working the right side of the aircraft, the other one's working the left. And you're trusting these 2 pilots who can't see the wheels of their own aircraft. They can't see the tail, and they're trusting you to put them in areas barely bigger than the rotors. And you're putting your lives in each other's hands, and you're trusting the guy across from you who's going to do that he's done his training, that he's done his focus, that he's giving you everything he's got for that one mission. And so leaving as an offensive lineman to go do that was a natural transition for me. Now, obviously, consequences were a little bit higher, but it was one of those things that symbolically I felt at home and comfort in, and I found my second family. So for me, it's always been about teamwork. It doesn't mean that I don't like to work as an individual. I do one here. I've got a team that surrounds me, and I like to be challenged as an individual. I like to push my own boundaries, and I can take a few more chances. But as cliche as it is, we always make the same joke around here. Teamwork makes the dream work. It's really what it takes, because we need everybody here. We need because there's going to be a day that I'm not at a 10, and I need the rest of my teammates to be at a 10 to get me up from a 5 to keep pushing forward.
Cool. Jeez, again, just incredible stories. And for you, non-football fans, I'm trying to think of the right metaphor analogy. That's like, hey, here you are, you showed up and you're working on the new biz team. Maybe you're working for Pat Kreidler. And then somebody goes, nah, just kidding. You're going to go partner up with Aaron Farr, and you're going to be a technical SEO strategist. It's like, what? You've got to be kidding, going from D-line to O-line, 2 totally really, different disciplines, just to kind of give you, if you're a non-football fan, kind of what kind of mindset. I could imagine here you are, you're just showing up out of high school, you're thinking one thing, all fired up, and someone telling you, nah, just kidding, you're going to go do this. Oh wow, that's just crazy. So appreciate you sharing that with us, Daryn. So hey, maybe you can talk a little bit about, hey, like, what are the different things that you're doing in your business realm? Like we know you're at Boise State, and what we're going to get to that. But like, what are the different entrepreneurial things? What inspired that? What kind of things are you doing there?
I'm doing a bunch, and there's probably 3 things I'm doing that I don't even tell my wife yet, because I've already got too many things on the plate already. And if I start any more projects, she's going to get mad. But
we'll keep your secret. It's all
yeah,
good.
Exactly. I tell a lot of people I got in the military for all the right reason, all the patriotic reasons. Like I grew up around that meant a ton. But also for me, I've always been a person. FOMO's the totally wrong word about it, but I've always struggled being a Monday morning quarterback. I've always struggled to speak to things that I haven't either have intimate knowledge myself about, or I haven't done myself. And I was in a position to do the job that I could for the National Guard, and that's a unique position. But more importantly, I wanted the chance to be part of that culture and that community, because I want to be able to speak to it. I wanted to go see what war was. I wanted to see what Afghanistan was. I didn't want to be somebody that was either rallying for or rallying against if I didn't know what it actually looked like on the ground. I wanted to be able to speak to the opportunity. And my life outside of football and outside the military, my professional life and my entrepreneurial life is in that same facet. I've tried to grow my base of knowledge and the things I know about by surrounding myself with opportunities that I know nothing about. I picked up when I left football, I needed a way to work out. I picked up jujitsu because I knew nothing about it. I got to walk in and be an idiot who was just a big guy who was athletic, but had no capacity on what it was going to improve me, and get myself beat up every day by the smallest people in the classroom, and learn, because I could humble myself to the situation and just be taught and learn and know that I wasn't bringing anything to it. And I've always wanted to be in the like the restaurant space and bar space. I've worked in them in my entire college career, and always loved the hospitality world, and wanted to know that I'm the smartest, dumbest guy in the room. So for me, it's, to sit down and learn these things is awesome for me to just sit back and learn from, especially a lot of the young entrepreneurs that are coming out, like some of these amazing companies. And then I've owned a small wine label with two of my brothers for we're going on 16 years now. So I was drafted to the Green Bay Packers with Jason Spitz out of Louisville and Tony Mall out of Nevada, 3 offensive linemen. And we own a small wine label out of Sonoma, California called 3 Fat Guys. So the Fat Guys are the nickname for offensive linemen in the locker room. And nobody ever wanted a Daryn Colledge or Jason Spitz jersey. So we thought we would gift out booze and have something that was a little more fun. And started out as a joke. The very first year we made 128 cases, donated half of them so we could drink for free the rest of them. And, this year we'll do over 20,000 cases, and we're growing and having fun and just enjoying the brand. So I've got my hands in a little bit, but I'll give you an adage that worked out for me a long time ago. When I was a freshman, my head coach was Dan Hawkins, was a tight ends coach here, came to Boise State, took over as the head coach in 2000, right when I got hired, or right when I got signed by Boise State. And it took me a few years to realize it, but Dan was extremely good at surrounding himself with people that were smarter than him. He always was learning, always surrounding himself with great talent. He had no problem being. He always said, never had a problem being the dumbest guy in the room. And I've tried to do that in my own professional career. I've always tried to be the dumbest guy in the room, make sure I'm surrounded by professionals and know what they're doing and can teach me, and I can steal more from them than I seem to give them. But it's worked out for me so far. So that's kind of what my entrepreneurship is that. I'm trying to find the smartest people in the room and giving them just enough capital and leash to drag me along.
Love it. That's awesome. And certainly, I try to do that as a best practice, as well. Never like to suck a lot of air out of the room, but again, appreciate you, sharing that story. I'm sure that we got a few of our team members are Googling right now, trying to find the business. They probably are like, gonna place them an email, try to get a disco call going, maybe gonna be a referral partner. They heard some of the buzzwords, I'm sure. When you were there, you were dropping some knowledge, on the team there, for sure. Okay, well, that's great. Well, tell us a little bit about, here's what I do at Boise State, and here's why it's bringing you fulfillment in your career, today. You got so many different things that you're doing.
Yeah, so I think everybody realizes COVID changed a lot of things for a lot of people, and who it hurt a ton were universities. Maybe not the head coaches, the stuff you hear about, but the day-to-day operations, these athletic departments. Nobody in these athletic departments here are getting rich. I promise you. Every person here is getting insurance and just enough to pretty much pay their car payment and get gas to get to work. But this department shrunk a ton during COVID. Everybody got furloughed. Everybody went to find jobs in other places, tried to find other things to do. And when Jeremiah Dickey came on, he took over, which was pretty much a bombed out situation. And my friend who I played with, Andy Avalos, took over as the head coach here. And I called up Andy. I was wrapping up my National Guard service. I'm starting to have a little more time on my hands. And I just asked him, I said, hey man, what can I do for you? You need me to sweep floors? You need money? You need me to coach? What's going to help the program move forward? And he asked me to meet with Jeremiah and said, we've got a plan. We want you to bring our alumni back home, all of our sports. We represent 16 active sports right now and 4 sports that no longer are at Boise State, but our alumni association represents every one of those. And our job was to rebuild it in a vision of service to those people and thanking them for what they've done. I think the culture around college football is, especially because that's the world I live in and know more about, has changed a lot, but we start looking at, what our gymnasts look like when they're leaving here, our basketball players, our soccer players, physically, mentally, all the stuff that we're dealing with now. We need to give them more and more resources to give them that opportunity to leave. When we got done, it was, hey, thanks for your service. It was a butt kick on the way out. And if you want to come back for a game, call somebody. And now we want to transition a lot of these athletes to make sure that they're successful members of our society right when they leave. The strongest communities in the nation are the ones that their universities can retain their talent that they've grown there. And we're trying to get to the point where we're keeping 60% of our graduates here in Boise to grow the tech community here and grow this downtown and grow what's going on here. And, I firmly believe, and I'm as biased as hell, that our athletes represent some of the greatest talent that we have here mentally and physically. So it's one of those things where if I can help transition them and give them opportunities in here in Boise to communicate, to incorporate, to work with other entrepreneurs and business leaders, then I'm doing my job. And then again, if I'm not doing that, hopefully I'm at least providing enough hot dogs and beer that everybody's having a good time for the games.
Awesome. Daryn, I got to ask, do they ever bring you in on any of the recruiting pitches? Because if you just took that video, and if a recruit was there, with their mom and dad. And
yeah, exactly.
That part, the mom and dad be he needs to go here to Boise. Do they ever call you in for that, or?
No, they don't call me in for that, but I would probably be good with that. I'd probably be good with the mom and dad's thing. My job is to really make sure that, there's every university says it, and every one of them, it's probably a joke, but it's always, once a something, always a something. And we have it too. It's once a Bronco, always a Bronco. And my job is to make sure that I hold the university's feet to the fire and that they respect that, and that's not just words, that that we are committed to that we are taking care of our athletes after they graduate out of here so that they can then take care of the athletes that came after them. Our job is to continue to pay it forward, build a culture of service around here and of support. And I just got to go out there, making sure that they're holding to their word. So when they walk into these moms and these dads and these families or whoever's supporting them, whether it's their grandparents or their uncles or whoever it might be, that when my coach looks across from him and says that, hey, your kid's going to come play sports here, but no matter what, they're going to be a Bronco for life. We're trying to create good human beings. I could care less if every one of them make it to the NFL or the Olympics or whatever. If they get out of here with an education and they're good people and they become good members of this community and can raise families, then we've done our job. That's the impact that I want to make. And if some of them can get rich along the way, all the better, because we've got a couple things that need to get rebuilt around here. So.
Geez, that's awesome. If I had any eligibility left and I could still play college football, I would be signing my national letter of intent with you right now.
We might have a spot on the gymnastics squad for you. We'll get you a leotard. We'll get you on the beam. You probably got some gymnastics eligibility left.
Yeah, that would be an adventure on the balance beam. That's for sure. Thanks, Lauren, there for the LOL. Appreciate it. It's all good. Oh, Joy, of course you're coming in. There we go. All right, well, cool. Well, hey, I'm almost done with my questions. So please, team, I'm going to give you all an opportunity to just, raise your hand. We'll get to you, with questions. So really my final question I just have here, but trust me, I could go on and on forever, but I want to turn it over to the team as well. Hey, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing from a community involvement, standpoint?
Well, I'm trying not to die now.
Grab that water, whatever you need.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fortunate enough to be involved in the community as much as in so many facets. I kind of specialize a lot with athletic programs and then with military concepts. I've been able to use what, we've kind of talked about in my B-level celebrity here to work with organizations from my NFL time. Mission 43 is a large organization here in the Valley that works with veterans. I do as much as I can for them. I've done speaking opportunities. I'm involved in their leadership cohort this year, which engages leaders in the community like myself with leaders that are much smarter than I am, that have been in this community for decades, and to try to pass down some of that knowledge as we try to build out even a better base. But it's made up of former military members, men, women, and spouses of military. I'm fortunate enough to be, I don't even know how this happened, the face of Reach Out Wisconsin, which is an organization based out of Wisconsin that's working with veteran suicide opportunities there to try to stop the pandemic of suicides within the military and the military ranks. And it's a program that we're using for the last year in Wisconsin as a test bed that we're going to pull a grant for and go national with. My wife is involved in anything that's criminal justice related here in the Valley. She's been a member of service since the day we got in the NFL, gave up her opportunities to go to law school and do all those things to serve her community, and has worked from everything from coat drives to she was a court-appointed special advocate here in the state of Idaho for youth under the age of 12 in the court system, and now works for the Idaho Justice Project, working on criminal justice reform here in the Valley, everything from parolees to court stuff versus anybody that's from here would have just seen the Clean Slate Act that went through. They're involved in stuff like that. So we're engaged in the community as much as we possibly can, supporting it and trying to make it better. And like your mom always said, leave it better than you found it. And hopefully we can make a small impact along that line. Oh, and then we also have a 501c called we've got a small aviation 501c called No Greater Love that's represents 3 pilots that we lost here in the Valley 2 years ago that were all fellow pilots of ours, team members we flew with regularly in and out of country. So,
wow, Daryn, do you sleep? Like what?
I sleep I sleep at 8 beautiful hours a day. No, I mean, I'm fortunate. I get a lot of support from my community. I've got an amazing wife and a family that supports me. I have a university that gives me the opportunity to do what I'm doing right now, but also doesn't ask questions when I need to go be a part of anything that I'm doing, and so I can continue to spread the love. And again, I'm just a teammate. Like I'm one of a team of a bunch of people, and my job is to just continue to try to support those causes in whichever way I can to help them grow. And again, keep surrounding myself with people that are doing more work and better work than me, and hopefully I'm just adding a little bit to whatever they're doing.
It's great. I mean, it's the humility that you speak with, and when you say you're just a teammate, I'm sure that the individuals that work with you see you more than just a teammate, leader of the people in the trenches, really grinding through and getting things done. So that's awesome. But hey, I want to turn it over. I feel like I've been asking all the questions, but
yeah, do I have to go back through the list of all the ones everybody typed, or somebody got that?
No. Yeah, we can hit on them, but
okay.
I certainly can look through here. But I'll just say randomly, like, hey, if anybody's got a question, I mean, there you go, Jules, you're up.
Yeah.
What's up, Jules?
Hey, one thing that stuck with me during what you were saying was that once you get to like the start of something, you know you're not going to fail as long as you put like all into it. One thing that I have a problem with is actually just getting to that start of something. Do you have like anything you say to pump yourself up, or a mantra or anything like that you could share that could maybe seep into my mind to help me just like get out there and make that first step?
I'll be honest, because it's funny that, and I probably definitely worded it wrong. I've started a million things that I knew I was probably going to fail, or I haven't worried about failure because I know what I'm going to put into it. And if I do fail, I can live with that opportunity. I actually just finished a great book called 4,000 Weeks, and it's based on the average lifespan of of a human, men, women, doesn't really matter, but about 4,000 weeks is what we get. And it talks about starting projects, and it talks about us trying to have this work-life balance culture, and it talks about how do we do everything at once, or how do we get these projects started. And one of the things I took away from it that I've tried to recognize in my own life is the fact that, like, I just have to start. I have to go. Like, the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to die. And I'm fortunate enough to even have this day. It wasn't guaranteed. I survived cancer 2 years ago, and I'm not going to tell you that it was some kind of mind-boggling experience where I looked at the situation of my life, like, am I going to die tomorrow, or like every day is a gift now. But what it did was it allowed me to focus and say that, like, when I was shut down for those months of doing cancer treatment and coming back from surgery and all those things, but I knew when I got done, I wanted to make sure that I was focused on the things that were important to me. I wanted to stop trying to juggle as many balls. I wanted to find the thing that, even if it scared me, I wanted to go out and do. And I look at that transition now, like, I'm not going to be in this job forever. I know the job I'm in right now, I was asked to come in and put a Band-Aid on something, fix it and make it great, so I can hand it off to somebody who's younger and hungry and can do it, but let's make it solvent. So I've got to take that next jump myself. I'm walking up to a finish line just like you. And I was in meetings this week in San Francisco where they were helping me make that jump with my business partners to say, hey, we're going to go do this. And what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Maybe it's not. Like, I would rather take the uncomfortableness of a challenge and the experience of overcoming that than live with comfort the rest of my life just doing something I don't enjoy. So if you've got some project out there that you want to go, you want to take a chance on, do it. As long as you know that you've got the time and you've invested what it takes to get it going. I tell myself, what's the worst that's going to happen? I might die.
Geez, I'm ready to run through some walls. I'm ready to run through a brick wall. Like, what the? I mean, Daryn, you got to get your own TED Talk. All right, next question. Who's got something? Cameron, you're up.
Hey, Daryn, thanks so much for this. How did you, or what is something that you took away from your time in the NFL that helped you abroad or in your service with the military? And then how can you connect that, or how can you connect those two things into like having success in all your entrepreneurships and then your university experience as well?
I think most importantly, what I learned from the NFL and what I learned from the military and what I'm trying to do now, definitely in my business, is leadership matters. Whether it's you at the smallest level, leading your small team, leading yourself, or you're leading a large team and you're the leader of it. The greatest thing in my life is I've been surrounded by some of the most amazing leaders in the world, and I've been surrounded by terrible leaders. I've been around good coaches, and I've been around bad coaches. I've been around bad leadership in the military, and I've been around hero leadership in the military. And it showed me truly how important leadership can be and what kind of positive effect it can have on the outcome of anything. But it also showed me that I can overcome bad leadership if I'm willing to do it my way. Like, if I'm willing to work enough to lead my group the way it needs to be and take my stand, that I can be the difference maker. But it showed me that if I'm going to lead a team, that I need to focus on doing that the right way. Like, I think leaders, it's always the adage, like, if you're in a situation where you're in charge and you can't take out the garbage, you're probably in the wrong situation. Like, nobody's bigger than doing any job, right? And I've been around leaders that were. I've been around leaders who were toxic, who thought that they were bigger than the system owed something to them. And that's not the fact of the matter. Like, we as leaders of our community, of people, of families, of children, like, our job is to be people of service. And if you can bring up the people around you, man, again, I love cliches, like high tide rises all boats. Like, bring people along with you, make them great, give them the opportunity to be greater than you. And you'd be surprised where it takes you. If you're everybody's heard it. If you're willing to not take the credit, you'd be surprised what you can get done as a leader. And that's the adage I've taken into my businesses, the way I want to treat people, and the reason that I've got involved in I was super fortunate to be one of the 8 people picked this year for Mission 43's leadership cohort. And the things that I'm hoping to learn from those guys is to make my life and the people I work with better.
Awesome. Jeez, all these incredible knowledge. Hey, we got plenty of time for more questions. So who else has got a question they want to ask? Desiree.
Yeah, I already put that 4,000 weeks in my Amazon cart, so I just wanted to know if you had any.
Man, that was fast.
I know, I'm on it.
How do I make some money off that? Some marketer tell me, can we put some link in there? Hey, just kidding. Go ahead, Desiree.
I'm just curious if there's like anything else that you've read or any podcasts that you've listened to that are just really motivational for you and kind of just like get your blood pumping.
I have at least like 3 books going on at one time. I'm terrible in that aspect. I'll have one that's like based on just for me for fun. I love to fly fish. I love to ski. I'm an outdoor guy. So I think I have a fly fishing book on my counter right now that I'm reading. And then my wife's got me reading a book called Chasing the Scream, which is based on the drug war in America and how right it's been and how wrong it's been. And a back and forth as I try to learn more knowledge about that and policy reform and change. And then I just finished up 4,000 Weeks. He can be kind of controversial. I'm a fan of some of Jordan B. Peterson's work. I just read a book about Wim Hof that was the Wim Hof method that was based on what doesn't kill you, which I think is great. I love longevity science, stuff like that. So anything along those lines, I am like, I can go down some some deep dark holes for knowledge on books, because I love anything, again, leadership based, personal improvement based. Like those are kind of my wheelhouses. So I consume a lot of knowledge and information on those, and then every once in a while I'll throw in the Count of Monte Cristo or something like that to just give me a break.
Cool, thanks. Great question there, Desiree. What else from the group? Other questions we got? We still got time here with Daryn. Joy, you don't have a question since you were laughing at me earlier?
No, I missed the first 30 minutes. I was on another call, so I don't want to.
Joy, that was the 30 minutes. That was a crucial 30 minutes. I was like, hey, if there's one thing you take from this entire thing, it's this. Did nobody type that in there? Somebody should have typed that.
Can you give me a summary? No, I'm just kidding. I'll watch the recording. Don't worry.
Leadership.
But from everything I
challenge.
heard, you sound awesome, Daryn. From
Well,
the
hopefully
last
somebody
30
recorded
minutes
it.
I got. No, I'm looking forward to hearing it all, and it's been really cool to hear you speak on just your life sounds. I think JT said it in the chat. It's incredible. I just kept thinking that too. It sounds really awesome, all the things that you've done in your life and what you'll continue to do. So I don't have any questions. I'm just sitting in awe. So I'll let someone else take the last 2 minutes.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions from the group? Well, I really just want to say, Daryn, thanks so much, for your time. Certainly, I think there's just lots of gold nuggets of information. I think that, every time a question was asked, you just kept on raising the bar. That's why I kept on saying, "God, this is like incredible, the number of stories this guy has." I mean, there's Superman, and then you're like right over here after spending this hour from you. But I think what I can take away from it and share with you all is that there's always more we can all do, and if we just put our mind to it, as cliche as that sounds. And certainly if you're motivated enough, and a ton of what I heard from Daryn, I was taking notes here along the way, is really driven by what it is your mom and dad, the work ethic, what they were teaching you early on. And then you've always kept your feet on the ground, per se, stayed humble to kind of know where you were at, and really did the best to empower different people and teams that you work on. And you just really just continue to kind of live by that. I'm sure I'm not doing it justice by explaining it, but Daryn, I learned a ton listening to you, and it was awesome, incredible. Like, yeah, you should start a podcast. I think somebody dropped it in here. Write a book. You may already have that in the works, and we don't know.
Yeah, we did 2 episodes of the podcast, and then I told all the stories, and where are you at now? I didn't have any new material, so.
Well, I'm sure we got a couple strategies on here that can give you some ideas how to package up different videos, put them on TikTok or something. I don't know. I'm not
Exactly.
an expert, but
Well, if you get bored, you can ghostwrite. You can ghostwrite everything we just talked about, and I'll just sign off on it. I'm totally fine.
For sure. But hey, just again, appreciate your time, Daryn, on behalf of the crew. Thanks so much, and learned a ton. I'm sure we're all getting better from it today.
No, my pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I had a great time. I'm happy to answer questions still, but it's been awesome to spend some time with you guys, and hopefully you guys got something out of it. And now hopefully they've given you the rest of the day off. So happy hours, like 2 hours ago, probably where you guys are at. So
depends where you're at, but it's all good. All right. Thanks, Daryn. Thanks, everybody.
Pleasure, guys.